Hey, good to see you,
Hello.
man.
Hey, yeah, finally.
Finally, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
I am very good, very good.
Nice.
If I recall correctly, our first interaction that I can remember is when you offered to voice act for my series. It was in the really early days of the Lego Zombie Apocalypse, probably around episode 3, and I asked you to send me some of your stuff, and I listened to it, I watched it, and I was like, "All right, let's try it out." Never done anything like that before, even remotely like that. But then you sent me the lines for Dominic Ferber, the insane soldier from episode 5, and it was awesome. And then there was kind of like, I think, a quiet period for a while where I just kept making my stuff. But then I started the Stories of Survival contests, and you entered, and of course took first place in the first one with Iceman. And that just kind of led to this really awesome partnership where now, you're still making your own videos, but you make some stuff for Twisted Bricks, including dark fantasy and some of those, uh, you know, TLZA 2107 and other different things like that. And you've even done some voice acting now for Gray Horizons. I don't know if I don't think I've released that part yet. Maybe I have, but as a gunner in the Piercer. And it's really awesome. And I'm very thankful that we kind of entered this relationship together.
Me too. Thank you for everything. Yeah, it's been a wholesome and awesome ride so
Yeah,
far.
absolutely. Uh, but I'm very interested to learn more about you and kind of your path as a filmmaker because, well, you're clearly a talented brick filmer. You're also,
Thank you.
clearly have a deep and profound passion for filmmaking in a wider sense. So could you just, for us to start, tell me a little bit about yourself and what kind of led you to filmmaking? When you learned or decided you wanted to pursue that. So yeah, just open-ended sharing.
Of course, I had a friend in high school who made Let's Plays for YouTube, and he followed a YouTuber that made comedy, and that YouTuber made a web series called Das Netzwerk, and they searched for just some dudes who wanted to play Nazis, and my friend was a big fan of that artist, the Changeman on YouTube, Joseph Bolz, and he asked me, "Do you want to come along and play a Nazi?" And I was like, "Okay, that sounds a lot like fun." And so we played that skinheads in a little episode of that web series, and Joseph was like, "You look like pretty interested. You want to come along some other days of the shoot?" And then I was like this little assistant, the set runner, and from there on, I was like, I want to do this. I want to entertain people. I want to make people cry. And Yusuf gladly was like, you can come along. I teach you all I know. And for all the high school, it was 2 years, I think, that were left. I was with Yusuf and on his shoots, and he taught me things. And when it was time to go to university, I was like, okay, what can I study film? Can I study how to make movies? Because in Germany, it's not that easy that you just can say, I'm now a movie maker. Most of the time, you need some certificate or something. And I wanted to learn more. And then 2017, I started to study film on a applied University of Arts and Science in Dortmund, Germany.
Hmm.
And yeah, then it got quieter with Joseph, because I hadn't the time to work with him because I was studying. And then I made my first movie, a short 10-minute short film called Dreamer, and this film was crap. This was really not
First
good.
ones always are.
Yeah, it was this you know typical university film, two people with amnesia in a cottage in the woods. And that's all. A lot of movies from universities, at least in Germany, are this storyline.
Mhm.
And we had like 6 timelines, like the past in the simulation, the future, and in 10 minutes. So it didn't really
Ambitious.
make much sense. Yeah.
Uh,
And I was after that I was really frustrated and was like, no, you know what? I don't want to do student films anymore. I want to do real movie. And then I wrote Peacemaker, a 60-minute western, 2018, and I worked on that till right now. We stopped shooting in May this year because of the pandemic and everything, and now it's in post-production. And hopefully it will be finished end of the year, and the world premiere will be in September 2022.
Hmm. Wow.
Uh, and yeah, I always had Lego, and I always loved stop motion. I tempered with it a little bit. I played with it in the early days, but never really got to do it. And then when Corona came, I couldn't work, and university was closed for a whole year, whole 2020. And I was like, I need to do something to not go crazy. I need to do something artistic. And then I got all my old Lego from my dad's house and just started to do stop motion. And in the same time period, you released the Stories of Survival, and I was like, I want to do something
Wow.
for that universe. Yeah.
Yeah. The stars aligned, it seems.
Yeah.
I was gonna, so a couple things. First, with Peacemaker, where, for people who want to see it, or where will it be available once it's released? Is there anywhere where it can be globally accessed? Do you not know about that yet?
There's a plan. There is a little teaser. I will send you the teaser via WeTransfer. Maybe you can just put it in the video.
Sure
or,
thing.
Or not.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great idea. I'll just insert it somewhere, or maybe at the end.
It's like 1 minute long. It was for the crowdfunding, so you can just cut the crowdfunding bits out. The reason the world premiere is that late next year is because all the big festivals in Germany are in autumn, in September. So and you need to have the world premiere in Germany as a German film, otherwise you can't go on festival tour in Germany. So we will wait until September, then hopefully we will score one of the 4 big festivals. And then the plan is that this movie will make an international world tour, festival tour, 2 years maximum. And hopefully then it will be somewhere on Netflix or Amazon. Worst case scenario, nobody wants it, then it will end up on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, film. I have, looked a little bit into film distribution myself with this whole Gray Horizons thing. Although it's a lot more complicated legally with Lego films. I think there's some serious limitations as to how you can make money with those. But it's like the marketing side of movie making is like half the job almost. I mean, it is. I don't know if I have to go that far, but it's a big part of it. It seems.
Yeah.
But I wish you best of luck with that, man. That's super exciting.
You.
Congrats to you. That's quite a feat to put together a movie like that.
Thanks. Yeah, it was wild.
Did you continue to go to school during that, or you said you didn't want to make student films? Did you stop with film school?
No, I continued. I learned a lot, but I had the feelings, and that's not the fault of the schools. They are like, you need to stay in your limitations and look what's available to you, and then just do that kind of movie. And for a lot of people, and for me also, when you do it that way, it's just like 2 guys in a cottage in the woods, because there's a lot of wood, and someone has a cottage, and you find 2 friends who want to play that 2 characters. And I was like, no, I wanna make something big, because now I'm in film school. If it doesn't work out, it's all for shits and giggles. Nothing, no harm is done. If I try to do a big movie when I'm out of film school, I have no safety net. This fails, I'm broke. So I was like, no, I don't want to stick to my limitations. I want to try to do something that would normally be out of my reach. And 5 years later, 30,000 euros in the project, we finally finished shooting, and there was a lot of trouble, but that had nothing to do with us or with the film. It was like bad luck with the pandemic. I mean, the whole world was fucked by the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
But there were other things. Like, we had this in Germany. We just 5 Western towns, like really towns that are built like old Western towns in the USA. And we had one near us, and everything was great. 5 days before the shoot, I get a call like in the middle of the night, and a number I don't know, a guy I don't know. And he was like, I know you shoot on my property. I tell you what, you take one step with the camera on my property, I call the police, and you will be all arrested.
Oh
Hangs
my
up.
goodness.
And turns out the owner of the property and the owner of the city, they had an argument, and the owner of the property was like, no, I will tear the city apart. I don't want to work with you anymore. And 5 days before shooting start, we don't have a city anymore. And it was like, okay, now we need to find a new city that we can pay. And we found one, and this one was more beautiful. But this was the kind of bad luck that struck a lot of the time
Yeah.
during production.
Oh man, I can't imagine the stress that that would put on you, just having to come up with some kind of solution. I mean, that's especially when like luck hits and it's a big production like that. It's got to just be improvising
Yeah,
every step of the way. Um, but
yeah,
yeah, I'm very excited to see that film, and I think it's interesting what you say about you didn't want to stick with, oh, you got to use what you got, the limitations, because I really relate to that. And you know, again, there are complex things with trying to make a living as a brick filmer. It's not very, it's very difficult, filmmaking in general. But I want to create like a sci-fi fantasy epic, and I can't do that with what I have in real life. I can't do it with live action. I can't do it with 2D animation because I just don't have the talent or the resources. But with Legos, you can, create a set, you can create lighting, a cast of characters, all this different stuff for just a fraction of what it would cost, a minuscule fraction of what it would cost to do live action or with 2D. So uh, I'm with you on that. You got to think big.
yeah. I mean, if one can make it, you will. With brick filming, I saw the 3 minute battle scene. I think yesterday you posted, and it looks amazing. It's a whole other level to my animation style. I mean, you do this way longer than me, but I was like, okay, how did you get this smoothness? And I watched it. I nearly watched it frame by frame because I wanted to know what would frame, where did you cut frames, where, and it's just amazing, and I can't wait to see 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you plan a festival run? Is that
I would
possible with
I
brick
would
film?
love to. I've tried to do some research on brick films entering festivals that aren't like specifically brick film festivals, because I don't know if it's done. I don't know like if it has been done, but if at all possible, I'm going to do that. I'm also going to talk to like, I really want to see this thing in theaters and show it to people, even in local theaters. So talk to some, just local city theaters or around North Dakota, and see if we can, get it on a big screen, and get the cast out there to, answer questions. I just think it's too fun not to try that at least. So we'll
Yeah, I
see.
think. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think there are a lot of brick film lovers in the world. A lot of them will know you and know Twisted Bricks. A lot of won't, and then there's this Grey Horizon movie in the cinema. I think that would be fun. I don't know. I think that would be the biggest problem if Lego wants a cut of the pie. You know,
Yeah.
a
Uh,
piece
I,
of the
I
pie.
I don't know either, and I think it's quite likely that they would not care about a cut of the pie, but they just say you can't make any money off this. I
Yeah.
know that's what happened to Montego Studios, the creator of Bound. I don't know
Mm.
if you've seen that. It's this incredible medieval brick film epic. But Lego contacted him. He was selling DVDs and all this stuff, and they were like, you can't distribute this in a way that makes you money. Which there are other people who have gotten away with that, and posting it on YouTube still makes you money through ad revenue. So the whole thing is very, I don't want to say open-ended, but it's complicated,
Mm.
knowing when they will and when they won't pursue some kind of legal action. So, part of me wants to just stay relatively quiet with this film, and not make big waves with it because I don't want to draw the Lego Group's eyes on me. But we'll see. I would love to be able to sustain it in a long way, but enough about me. This is an interview with you. So
Of course. So
I,
I'm very interested in the production
yeah,
of gray resin. Yeah, and
it's
now we can talk. And so I'm I'm curious.
for sure, man.
I
I'm so excited about it myself, and it is really something else embarking on a a feature film. It's different
yeah
than a short in a huge way.
yeah yeah, it's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
Story wise, first thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing, I know a YouTuber that makes like critics about Lego sets, and he was getting sued because he called some set Lego that wasn't from Lego, that was from Blue Bricks.
Oh,
And the problem was that he called something Lego that wasn't Lego. So maybe if you don't put Lego in your movie name and it's just a brick film, Lego can't sue you.
yeah. Oh, trust me, I've looked at this from a lot of angles. Uh, the problem is, even because I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna say I'm not affiliated with Lego. I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna make it so painfully obvious that I have no relation to them. I'm even gonna blur out if you ever see the Lego logo on any of the bricks in the film. I'm gonna blur that out. Uh, but they have a trademark on the minifig itself, which I
Ah,
don't know how
yes.
that works, but that's where it gets tricky. If I made a film that was just the blocks, could get away with that. But the minifigs present an issue. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I have one kind of adjacent friend who's actually just graduated law school for copyright law. So I have somebody who I can kind of consult with some
That's
questions,
good.
but we'll see. Stay
Yeah.
tuned on that. The one thing that's certain is the film will get done, and people will find a way to watch it. That's what matters.
Yeah. Can't wait to see it.
Thanks, man. All right. So, um, a few questions, I guess. I'm curious about your filmmaking process, although I'm sure it's different for live action and brick
Mhm.
filming. But whether you do storyboarding, make notes along the way, what level of improvisation there is, and also I'm curious whether you edit, um, and you do cinematography too. So I'm just curious, what is your general filmmaking process, if there is one?
Um, for live action, I'm more of a writer and director. With stop motion, I do nearly everything, from the story to the sound design and editing. I know the basics. That's the great thing on my film school. You have like 1 year all the basics, and then you like look still on everything, but you choose your I don't know the word in English.
Specialty?
Um, yeah, thank you. You choose your specialty, like writing or directing, and so I know how to use Premiere Pro. I know how to do some effects, but I think I'm really good at writing.
Mhm.
Still learning, but and everything starts with an idea, and what I do is like write everything down, like vomiting all the ideas on a paper and just writing it, and I can read it, nobody else can read it because it's like some words are missing because my brain was too fast for my hand to write it. And after that, I'm read it and read it again and work on it until I have like 5 big points. Um, and then I'm like, okay, the first thing is he wakes up and he doesn't know where he is. The second thing is a monster breaks into the cottage. What happens from that point to that point? And then I write it, and I have like um, a treatment then with picture one, picture two, picture three, and that's sort of my storyboard. There's a lot of improvisation in brick filming involved, because I like to build this elaborate set. You saw that for Dark Fantasy, where I can move the camera everywhere I want. And when I did that, I know there's this battle. I wrote like what I wanted to do. Then I made the figures, and then was like, okay, what would be cool? A wide angle shot would be cool. And then all the figures need to move, and that was like 3 days, and it's ended up to be like a 5 second shot
Hmm.
of the knights fighting. And then I
Yeah.
just improvise the actual shot, but I have a treatment lying uh, beside me where I can read what comes next.
So that's, and I think that's a wise way to do it. You want to leave some room for improvisation where it's like, I find that if I'm doing a fight scene in the medieval Lego Zombie Apocalypse or season 2, when they're fighting Vildane as a monster at the end, and he's got these tentacles and he's this gigantic thing. I had a general idea of how things were going to play out, but I really kind of departed from that outside of the main plot points of who dies, who survives, who gets injured, and how does it end? Because it's one thing when you have a piece of paper and you're visualizing it in your head, but when you actually have the set and you have the physics of it to deal with, and sometimes it's like, it would make way more sense for him to get hit by a tentacle right now and get launched against a wall than to have this other thing happen. So I think that is wise to have that space there.
Yeah, same. It's
And
the same thing.
it's funny because
Yeah.
in my opinion, that's where you play as a director of sorts with your own brick film. It's like the act of directing is as you're animating it, as the action is occurring, you as a director have the executive decision. I'm going to change this. Let's try it this way instead.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting
Yeah.
concept, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Every move in a brick film or in a stop motion film is planned and not planned, but it's like you never do second take.
You don't want to.
Where,
Yeah.
yeah, but on real life movie making, it's like the actor is really pumped, and then we make a scene. It's a breakup scene, and in the first one he just sits and he's not screaming. He's just like looking down. And in the second take, he's really pumped because the first one it was really getting on his nerve, and then he just grabs a glass and hits it on the table, and the glass breaks. And that's something that you got in live action, where you then can choose which take was the best. But in stop motion, you do this one thing, and it needs, even if it's improvised, you look at it and it needs to strike you somewhere, and then you're like, okay, that can stay as it is.
Yeah,
And that's
definitely.
really fascinating.
So how do you feel your brick filming and your live action experience complement each other? Like, what areas of filmmaking do they overlap? Because certainly they're very different in a lot of ways, but I've got to believe that there's some level to which those things have comparable skill sets.
I think story. I think the violence, or the theme of violence is always in my stories, whether it's like a zombie story or it's like this Western thing. It got really violent. That was a lot of fun. And like how I shoot my movies. Peacemaker is a lot of wide shots, a lot of one shot. Not a lot of cutting between sentences, but one angle, one shot. The camera stays static, and we try to make this movie in the less shot we could do.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense? I hope so.
Yeah,
And
as
that's
few shots as possible, maybe, or is
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Less shots as possible, and that benefited the movie because sometimes it's great because you have this wide shot, and there's a horseman riding down into the sunset, and the sun is rising. We shot in the morning because it looked more beautiful, but there are a lot of clouds, and the whole sky burns. And then there are those shots where you want to cut away, but it doesn't cut away. Or you want to, someone is dragged away and you want to jump closer, but we stay far, we stay wide. And you want to run after them, but you can't. And I think that's something that is also visible in my stop motions, that there are some shots that just stay in one camera. I mean, I move the camera a lot in my stop motion because I can. In real life, that's not always so easy to have a smooth camera movement, but it stays the same shot. Like the first episode of Dark Fantasy, we have this tracking shot of the convoy, and the riders ride and the camera just moves with them, and that's something I try to don't have this. In Germany, we call it Schnittgewitter. It's like a cutting storm, like picture, 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 picture,
Oh
picture.
yeah.
And I don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like a lot of the things that carry over from brick filming and live action, you have a kind of distinct style and inspiration that you stick with
Yeah.
regardless of the medium that you use to tell it. On that note, I'm curious because dude, I love your style with your brick films. There aren't a lot of brick films that like put a chill in my bones, but some of yours just give me shivers. The
Thank you.
what was the one where you have like it cuts to these scenes of like a minifig getting drilled in the head or something, and it's "Don't be afraid,
That's
Thomas."
Don't be afraid. Yeah, for the VPL January contest. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. And of course, your latest entry, Fungus, to Stories of Survival 2. I love the voices you do and the way you present, Slag or the fungus. It's so spooky, and so
Thank you.
kind of abstract and nightmarish, which, I feel like I kind of scratched the surface with it. But I almost keep mine a little bit more family friendly, if you could call it that, but I want
Yeah.
to see a version of this universe that is just profoundly twisted. And I feel like you do a good job of that. So I'm
Thank you.
curious,
Thank you.
of course, I'm curious, where do you kind of draw your inspiration from? Is there any movies or series, or can you kind of trace your love of horror and scary kind of filmmaking to any particular shows that inspire you?
Um, of course, a lot comes from anime.
Mm,
Like Shiki, I don't know if you know that one.
not that one.
Um, that's a vampire anime where you don't know it's a vampire anime. No, spoil it if you want to watch it, but it's like it's not brutal in any way, but it's like so bone chilling. The vampires are just a lot of times just red glowing dots in the dark,
Hmm.
and you have scenes where there's a vampire outside the window and the protagonist is hiding and you hear the scratching noise, and I knew I was like 16 and I watched this, and I watched the whole 25 episodes in one sitting, and I got mad. Every little thing in my house and every red dot from mobile phone in the dark was like, oh my god. For a moment my heart stopped and I was like, it's just something electrical.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. A lot of H.P. Lovecraft novels. I read a lot of them, and those cosmic horrors and his way to describe it's like so vivid, and that's something I wanted to do. I like my little sister and I have a little game we play where we try to spook each other all the time. It's slowed down because now we live apart from each other. But if we see us and someone goes to the toilet and isn't um, yeah, we get spooked. Then there's like, if it's just the boo, it's just the boo. But
Yeah.
it was always part of that to create something spooky. And your zombie apocalypse is a great inspiration. Um, like this, the Slack in the 3-minute video you posted where this Slack ball hits the soldiers, and that was bone chilling for me
Hmm.
because it was like this World War movie, like the Saving Private Ryan or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the emotions on the character, just with the faces and the breathing, where he looks and his camera comrades are zombies now, and that was something that impacted me. And I mean, the slacks are creepy, you know. If I just think, you know, I go to my basement and there's a slack, then oh my god, I think I would vomit, I would cry.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
thing, and that's just something I just think, what would that look in real life? And now you just need to get these emotions and this vibe down to brick filming.
Yeah. That's really cool about a lot of that of course, but that you like H.P. Lovecraft and that kind of cosmic horror, that really really abstract existential horror that gets you to your core. I, you know, and you do such a good job of this in your zombie apocalypse shorts and dark fantasy, of just that this otherworldly horror that you can't even begin to fathom or compete with or understand. And I think, you know, I basically created the Lego Zombie Apocalypse on accident. I didn't know what it was going to become when I started it. It was just for fun. But now I have this vision of what I want Slag to be and to represent. And I really want, you know, I plan to work forever to get it to fruition, but it can be a terrifying creature. And I want to explore the different levels of just abstract terror that a cosmic hive mind, just four-dimensional creature can evoke. And I feel like I had somewhere else I was going to go with that, but I lost it. But that's really cool that you have those inspirations. What are your favorite and least favorite parts of filmmaking? Is there anything that comes to mind in particular?
Oh, um, I think the favorite thing is writing and shooting. Um, the least favorite thing is pre-production.
Mm.
Because you need to, you think of a story, it's fantastical. Like Peacemaker the Western. I had this Western city, I had horses, I had all the guns, I had the costumes for the actors, and you can write that down, but the next question is, where the hell do you get all these things? Where do you
Yeah.
get horses? How do you pay the horses? Or the people who own the horses?
Yeah.
And
How do you pay the horses? What currency do they accept?
even if it's a low budget movie or an indie movie, we are low budget, no big company behind it with all the money. So you're like, okay, what's the money I got? I got 30 over 5 years, 30,000, and for that you need to make a movie that's like, if you would pay everybody fairly, we work all for free.
Yeah.
It would be like, I don't know, and I hate it because you need to do it, and you need to kill some things you really love. Like I wanted to have, there's a gang, and I wanted to have the scene where the gang rides over the horizon, and there are 6 people, so 6 horses. We had 3 horses, so I needed to kill that scene because
Oh.
what could I do? And that was me failing in pre-production because I didn't get the money we needed. And I hate that because it's a lot of stress, and you are finished with that movie before the first day of shooting. If you are a producer and director, I was producer and director of my movie, and I had a great producing team with me, but in the end it's all my responsibility because it's my movie.
Mhm.
And then it's like, the day before the shooting starts, you can't do anything. You just drive to the set, or to the place where you sleep. And I laid there with Peacemaker and was like, hopefully tomorrow everything will fall in place.
Mm.
And that's the worst night. I had 4 of them during Peacemaker because we needed to stop the shooting due to Corona, and I'm always so nervous. And then on the day when the shooting started and everything is there and everything falls into place, that's shooting is the easiest part
Hmm.
of a movie.
Yeah.
And pre-production of a real life movie is, I hate it the most. It needs to be done, but there's nothing worse.
I can see that. I imagine when you're on set, it's like you're rolling with the punches. If something goes wrong, you deal with it then. And you're doing. But pre-production has got to be so much thinking and worrying and stressing out about, oh, we got to get this, we got to get this. And I'm sure that's just exhausting in a different way.
Yeah. On a set, on shooting set, I had a great team.
Mm-hmm.
I had a great team, and we were 30 people, and when something goes wrong, you're not alone. You have 30 people with you on that set in the same situation, and there can't be a punch that is too big. You can take it. But in pre-production, you are like 4 people, and you write a lot of emails and a lot of people don't answer you. That is really frustrating. And you need to learn that it's not your fault, and it's not their fault either. You write a company like Jack Daniels. We wrote Jack Daniels, like, we have this whiskey in our film, do you want to sponsor our film? We show you whiskey. And Jack Daniels was really, really nice and was like, yeah, that's a really cool project, but we are Jack Daniels and you are no one. But really, really nice. And that's for me, that wasn't a no, that was a not no.
Mm,
Because
yeah.
now I'm nobody, but maybe in 10 years I
Hmm.
make a movie where Jack Daniels sees, okay, millions of people will see this. Here are 100,000 euros, and here's a whiskey. Please put it in your movie.
Yeah.
And that is a real frustrating journey. You need to do every time you make a new movie.
Hmm.
I don't know if you get sponsors for your Grey Horizon, or do you just?
Not there's So I'm technically sponsored by Brickforge, but it's pretty laid back. I got some free stuff from them, and it's kind of this like passive agreement where I'll put their discount code in my descriptions and advertise that a little bit. But it's not like a really I haven't contacted them for a long time now about that. I would love to. I've looked for some sponsorships from like what is it, Brick Warriors, even Brick Arms. I haven't had too much luck, uh, but I'm thinking about ways to make money off this film without like just putting it on Amazon or Netflix or anything like that. The Void War, I mean. I've thought it would be really cool if I could reach out to Brick Arms and if they sold weapons packs that includes all the weapons from Gray Horizons, and I could promote those
Great.
packs. That would be very cool. If I can't get them to do that, I might just buy a bunch of their weapons and resell them in like packs with soldiers. That's something I've started doing, is actually buying, and this is such a tedious process, but ordering the pieces to make the minifigs from the film so to make like a bunch of copies. So when the film comes out, I can sell those as almost like merchandise from the film. You buy a set with all the characters, and it's not easy because no Bricklink stores have like all the pieces. They just have a few here and there. So I have to try to find the best stores that have the most, so that I don't have to order from 100 stores. But I'm just trying to plan ahead in that sense, and trying to look for ways to make money off this, even if I had to post it on YouTube for free. But as of current sponsors, not really. I do want to pursue a crowdfunding campaign once I have a little more footage done. Did you do anything like that for your film, Peacemaker?
Yes. Firstly, then the struggle. The struggle doesn't change, even if you do big film or real life.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. The scale
Asking
is a
people
little
for
bit
money.
different. Yeah.
Asking people for
Um,
money is like, it's just never fun.
nah, no, because it's like, I mean, I think you have there's two amazing seasons of the Lego Zombie Apocalypse, and you're like, I did that, and now I want to do a movie. And I think people in crowdfunding will see that and will be, okay, I trust you. I give you my $5. It's the least I can do. With Peacemaker, that was my first project. I couldn't show Dreamer because, as I said, it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
And you ask people to give you your money, to trust you with their money, and they don't know. They're just like, okay, that's a risk.
Yeah.
And we had some bigger sponsors that were like, okay, you know what, I give you 5,000 euros. And I was always like, are you insane? That's a lot of money. We did a crowdfunding campaign. That's what the trailer I sent you for Peacemaker was for.
Mm.
um, it was successful. I think we had like 5,000 euros there. We wanted to have 2,000 and we got five.
Wow.
um, so that was really, really, really great. It's called Start Next. I don't know if you got that in America too. That's the German site, I
Mm.
think. um, and there are a lot of new stuff. They're like sponsors from Start Next, and if you hit your goal, sponsors can come and can say, oh, that's a great project, I'll give you the same amount you reached with your goal, and then you maybe end up with twice as much or more. But that wasn't the case with us. If Startnext is available in the US and it's the same rules, I would recommend Startnext.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had looked into doing one, and I can't remember if it was with Indiegogo or it might have been something else, but I haven't finalized it because I want more footage before I make my trailer. But I'll definitely be looking into that. Do you think you got most of your funds from strangers on the internet, or people, or was it family and friends who were willing to contribute, or do you have any tips in general?
Most of the money was from friends and family, from the team. So, you know, brick filming is different, but we were 30 people who wanted to do this. So we had like 60 parents who were like, okay, you know what, I'll give you
Yeah,
$20. And then,
well,
and with Startnext, is it you got goals. So you have a first goal, and then if you reach that, it automatically gets higher. So we was like, what do we need? Let's say we need 1,000 euros, because we knew we could get 1,000 euros, and then we had 1,000. Then it was like 152, and basically what we did, we annoyed people. Every day there was a post on our social media. We were like, hey, you need to, and a lot of friends were like the campaign went over 3 months. In the third month, a friend of mine was like, okay, you know what, I give you $5 and I don't want to hear from this project again. But I think I'm a little guy, you know. I have like 200 subscribers on Instagram. I got 300 subscribers now, thanks to you on my YouTube channel. So I don't have this reach, getting people that don't know me to give me like $5. I think you can do that. I think that's your reach is bigger. So, and you have a lot of people. I would give some money. I would share the link, because I'm part of that movie in a small way, but it's awesome. And I think great giveaways. We had a little prop bullet, and on this bullet engraved is the name of the movie Peacemaker. And I think like nearly 60 people bought this for 10 euros. That doesn't sound a lot, but we had like 80 or 85 people who gave money, and 60 out of these went with the bullet.
mm-hmm.
So I think giveaways are a key, and a real good campaign. You know, if you have 3 months of campaigning, that you use the 3 months with posts and with come on, just $5, take it. Maybe call. We had a lot of local newspapers and some radio stations invite us for an interview, and they brought that out with the link on their website, and that helped too. So a battle plan is, I think, the best way.
That's all really good advice. I appreciate that. I'm
No
mentally
problem.
preparing myself to dive into the persistence campaign of trying to acquire funds, because so far it's been well, I guess it's such a, like you said, there's so much. It's such a multi-step process from writing the script. Were you involved in the casting process as well, I imagine?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole deal that you have to work through. Uh, there is a lot, but it's, I think the key, um, something that I've had to contend with is, what if this movie is going to take forever to make? And I'm sure you can relate, starting Peacemaker in 2018. So you can't just think about the end product all the time. You have to keep it in mind somewhere, but just learning to enjoy the different parts of the process, or just to at least be present in the process. I think that's become so important to me when I'm animating, just to take pleasure in every little motion that they make that looks good. Um, those are
Yeah.
my thoughts there.
No, that's really wise. I think for us low budget indie filmmakers, fun needs to be the essential part of the project, because I did some projects where I got paid really, really well as an assistant, and sometimes they weren't fun, but I was like, I don't care. I get paid a lot of money for this, but that's something you can't tell yourself if you do your own project and it doesn't make fun anymore. Then I think if you hit that spot, and I hit that spot with Peacemaker, sadly, um, uh, not all the time, but in the last shooting phase now in May 2021, 1 year postponed. First day of shooting, we had a stunt, and I wanted to make sure it was safe, and it wasn't safe. And I cut myself with a knife in my leg, and I cut quite deep into the muzzle, and we were in the middle of the woods, and our cameraman was like, "Put on his throat," and he put all my things, and was lying on the ground in the woods, and he was like, "Oh my, I don't know, maybe you will bleed out."
Oh
And
my gosh.
it was a little bit of panic. Everybody was like insects running around. We needed an ambulance, and I was just lying there looking into the sky. I was like, "Am I dying here on my first movie set?" I didn't. And after 2 minutes, my cameraman was like, "I can see your muzzle, Max. Everything will be fine." And then I drove to the hospital, and I got stitches. But the consequence was I couldn't walk properly. I couldn't lift something heavy. I was handicapped. I couldn't do anything but walk slowly behind the team, and I was like, this needs to go there. And I'm a guy who wants to help to lift the heavy things, and I couldn't do anything. And my team, they put up with that. They stayed, and they made it, and we were in the forest, so no easy walking. And that was horror. That was 20 days of horror. And there was a point, like the second, where I was like, I'm useless. This is useless. Everything is useless. And we ended the day, and I was like, just go to the cars. I need 2 minutes, and I just sat in the woods and cried because I didn't. And that was a big problem. And the team was like, Max, no, it's okay. You hurt yourself. It's not like you are lazy. You just need to calm down a little bit. And that was the greatest thing to do, to really get zen with everything again.
Yeah. Wow, dude, that's quite a story. It's an experience of despair. I feel like, I'm sorry I have to just like laugh at this, but I feel like I can see this being the opening scene in a documentary about you or a film where it's like the camera is a bird's eye perspective looking down at you, and you're just laying up looking at the sky, and it's like, how did I get here?
Yes. Yeah, it's we all laugh, and
but
yeah,
wow,
it's
way to like, struggle through it. I mean, very few people have, I think, the interest and the courage to pursue something like that. It is a huge undertaking, and it does certainly take courage and the possibility of failure, I guess, depending on how you define failure. Maybe a learning experience isn't a failure at all. It's just a stepping stone.
Now we are in the cutting room a lot of the days, and I'm like, why is that good? That sounds negative, but I had totally lost the sense of, will it work? We shot the first scenes in 2019, and now we shot the last scenes in 2021. And it's a story over a week, so people got older over 2 years. And we were all really worried that you would see that, but you don't. And that's always what amazes me, that you were so in the movie then one actor, the antagonist, had hair like this. And 2 weeks before shooting the second part now in 2021, he needed to cut it for a big commercial like this. And I was like, we want to see that. People are going to see that. And it's there. It's totally obvious. Nobody ever told me the hair is different. Of the people who see this, sometimes if we need fresh eyes on it.
Mhm.
And I think the how to say it, you need to be ready to fail. Like
Yeah.
even if it's Peacemaker, if it's Gray Horizon, with that big of a project, there needs to be a lot of passion, and but you need to know this could fail. You know, my house could burn down, and now and all my equipment is gone. I can be robbed. I can step myself in the leg and bleed out in the woods. That's a possibility, but that shouldn't stop you. And yeah, it's a funny story, and I hope if I ever get a documentary that this would be the start.
Yeah.
Sadly, we hadn't have a making of camera on
Mhm.
Peacemaker. Um, but I think that would be some funny recordings
That would be
if it were
something.
a camera.
Yeah. I think, again, words of wisdom on your part too there. The great, the joy and the despair of indie filmmaking is you're independent, both in the sense that you have to figure out how to pay for this dang thing on your own and how to produce it, but you also, you don't pledge your allegiance to any studio or any executives or any well, I don't know about producers, maybe you have somebody funding it, but generally you can tell the story you want to tell. And I get the impression that you, and I know for me, I feel a profound calling to tell stories in one way or another. It's there, and these things, they want to come into the universe through me. And I did have a point where I was like, I had a teaching degree, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be a teacher. Um, but I felt this, resistance to that. And I still could end up being a teacher for by all accounts. But I did make the commitment that I wanted to tell stories through film, and that I'm never going to stop doing that. Even if I end up having to teach to pay the rent, I guess I have summers off. You work around it. But
Hmm.
um, I had, it's like, if you have to do it. And it's I think liberating to just embrace that.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Max. Well, we've talked for just about an hour now, and that's all the questions I had for you. Is there, I guess, any advice? The last question here. Any advice you would impart to a lot of young brick filmers or filmmakers who are watching this? Maybe hit their own stumbling blocks and uh, are inspired by both of our brick films.
Um, don't lose your cool. That may sound ridiculous, but there are so many great artists out in this world on YouTube. Every second, 1,000 brick films are uploaded, and the chances of you being seen is slim. But that doesn't mean that you aren't awesome. That doesn't mean that you are a bad artist. If you keep on going and if you keep making those movies, someone will see you. With me, Christian saw me. Now I've got the whole year of 2020, I made brick film after brick film. I made this little web series, Isolation, and I just gathered like 3 subscribers more. I was at 70 and then 73. Then I did Stories of Survival, and now I have 306 in like this 8 months now, because you saw me. And I think that's the thing. It's do what you love, and don't do it for the clicks, and don't do it for people seeing you. In the main part, of course, you want people seeing your stuff, but just do it because it makes you happy, and never lose the faith. It's hard to be seen in this world, but it doesn't mean that it won't happen.
Yeah, good stuff, man. I would like to add that I did see you, but I only saw you when you reached out to me and made yourself heard. So sometimes that's what it takes. You have to put yourself out there and be like, "Hey, I would love to work with you. I like what you're doing." And you might do that, and whoever you reach out to might not be interested, like Jack Daniels, for example. But maybe you just need more time to grow, mature, and become who you're becoming, and then try again. So
Yes,
uh, I think that
100%.
is a wonderful note to end on. Thanks so much for your time, Max. I really appreciate it. Uh,
Thank you.
we'll stay in touch, and we'll definitely do this again sometime.
Of course.
Take
Of
care.
course we do.